of this session. Don't worry about your personal details because I will use video editing software to hide your details, your name, your face, your voice. If you want to ask a question, if you share a comment, it will all be hidden. Okay, it will not show. Excellent. So a few people on LinkedIn already, and the 16 people online. We got 65 people, and usually we got a third. Usually a third of the total number of people who sign up typically join these meetings, which is again it's okay. So let's get started. As usual, write in the chat any question. We will have time for questions. We will have time for a demo in Business Central's newest version. But most of what we're going to discuss today, what I'm going to discuss today, applies to the older versions of Business Central, with a couple of minor exceptions, which is Copilot and bank reconciliations, minor things. So the bulk of what we're going to discuss today applies to Business Central latest version. So let's get started. So today it's all about bank reconciliations in Business Central, advanced bank reconciliation. Why did I say? Why did I choose the advanced bank reconciliations? Because this is one of the most underutilized, let's say, I would call it module, cash management module, areas of Business Central. It can do so much. But it can get confusing because particularly organizations that come from simple accounting software, they tend to see cash management as a simple journaling exercise, like journaling in terms of financial journals, like vouchers, right? To use terminology, which means we just put money in the bank, money out of the bank, we allocate it to the right account, and we are done. However, in Business Central, this set of features can do a lot more than just that. And this is what we're going to cover. So, a quick introduction about me. Most of you already know me. I can see, again, I worked with some of you already in the past. But again, if you're new to this channel, my name is Alfredo Iorio. You can forget about my surname. It's difficult to pronounce. Alfredo, it's okay. Or Alfred, eventually. Principal trainer and founder of Viscontis Limited, the company behind D365 Training. I spent more than 20 years in consulting. I started in logistics, supply chain management, and then eventually I started working in Dynamics, primarily in Nav and then Business Central. And so this is what I do for a living. Later today, I will tell you more about my training packages for Dynamics applications, but this is what I do essentially full-time now. Training, corporate training, and advisory, consulting. So today, as I said, it's all about how to use advanced cash management features in Business Central. Banking, but not just banks. We're going to touch also briefly about credit cards. This is the agenda. We will start with payment reconciliation versus bank account reconciliations. This is a very common issue, I would say, in Business Central. They seem to, 2 pages, that seems to do pretty much the same thing. Can expand the view of the presentation. You don't see the presentation well? I'm going to try to make it bigger for you. There we go. So I am in the way of the presentation, so I'm going to make my smaller. There we go. Is that okay? Is that better? Hopefully that's better, right? Excellent. Very good. Lovely. So again, payment reconciliation and bank account reconciliation. So the difference and when to use one or the other. Because they are very similar, but they're designed to do 2 very different things. And it's more about compliance and regulatory than features. Banking integration options, do it yourself versus extensions. Why should you choose one or the other? And banking integration options. Okay, I see you sending images, sending pictures. There we go. Show video first. Thank you, Dean. Exactly. If you change that, if you change the way it looks, exactly, right? Show video first instead of gallery. Let me see. Is there something I need to change on my end? Right? Video effect setting. It should be right. Okay, that's for the attendees. Thank you, Dean. Lovely. So good to see that it was working now. Thank you very much. Dean and I worked together in the past. He's my go-to solution technical architect and developers. If you ever need to hire someone with technical expertise in Business Central and you want the best of the best, speak to Dean, okay? He doesn't pay me for that, right? I say it because we work together and I can tell you he's one of the best in this industry. So back to what the agenda, handling tolerance in foreign currencies. Business Central can do that for us very well. Approvals and separation of duties. Again, compliance, which in cash management is essential, isn't it? This is really the key message for today. Cash management in Business Central, it's not just about money in and money out. It's also about compliance and regulatory. All right? So, don't ask AI to tell you about these two features. This is what I asked Gemini, right? This is Google AI tool with search engine features, capabilities. It uses Google search. So, you know how you say we Google things, we search things. This is what I asked Gemini to do. Tell me the difference, there's a question. Tell me the difference between a payment reconciliation journals and bank reconciliation journals in Business Central. And he got 1 out of 6 right, which means 5 out of 6 are wrong. It says that bank reconciliations focus on matching all bank statements, while payment reconciliation, not payment journals, not payment reconciliations, right, allows to post an invoice and reconcile the bank simultaneously. But how does it work in real terms? How can I possibly register something in the bank now and reconcile the bank statement? Because if you think about it, if I'm registering a payment right now, that payment is not on a bank statement. How does the bank know, right? So what is the purpose of this thing, really? Let's look at these lines line by line and let's bust some myths, right? Myth busters. Primary goal, apply payments to invoices and post entries. Right, we have the payment journals for it. Bank account reconciliation, match all bank statement lines to general ledger. Not true. All bank statement lines to bank ledgers, not general ledgers. So partially wrong. Then it says a bit of automation. Payment reconciliation journals use high automation, auto matching rules. But it says that bank reconciliation requires manual matching. Also not true. Don't use AI for this stuff. What is best for? High volume. For customers and vendor payments, I argue is quite the opposite. If you have a high volume of customers and vendor payments, you need better control and compliance. Bank payment reconciliation journal does not do that. And so monthly reconciliation, again, this is completely made up. Post payments to general ledgers upon completion, not necessarily, because if I'm applying a payment to a right, if I'm not posting, I'm applying a payment, there's nothing to go to my general ledger. And bank account reconciliation says that reconciled payments must already be posted. Yes, but not always. And what happens with missing items can create and post new bank entries, which is true, but not just that. And bank account reconciliation requires entry to exist already. Again, partially not true. So don't use AI to learn these features, because AI will look at, as I said, features, and it will just best guess what these features are. But without a solid foundation of compliance and process and cash management in the organization, you will get it wrong. You will be misled. And so consultants also make those mistakes. How many customer vendor payments do you process every month? Thousands. All right, maybe you want the payment reconciliation, because then you can do the payment and reconcile in one go. You save time. Sounds right. Sounds good, right? No. Don't do that, because that's the best way to get your client in trouble, is to use tools and pages with compliance is loose and control is not in place for high volume. You will get very fast where you don't want to be, right? Where your payments essentially don't match and you don't know who you paid or what needs to get paid. So let's get this sorted once and for all, shall we? Payment reconciliation and payment and bank account reconciliations. Payment reconciliation to register and apply payments plus reconcile the bank at the same time. We will learn in a moment in why and where and how you might be able to register a payment and reconcile the bank. How does the bank know, right? It's about process and compliance. The bank account reconciliation allows you to reconcile the bank, and once the bank is reconciled, you can also register bank fees, expenses that affects your cash flow that you only find out when you receive the bank statement. Okay? In very simple terms, this is what they do. So, when do we use it? Processes, right? Organization, and how the organization works before features. Payment reconciliation is used when accounts payable, the team responsible for paying your suppliers, your vendors, process payments out of an aged payables report. And so they know who to pay because the system gives them a report. They got access to the bank account. They work in the bank account. They figure out what to pay, and they go straight to the bank. They don't operate the system, and they just post the payment in the bank, register the payment in the bank. While bank account reconciliation is used when accounts payable processes the payments in Business Central using payment journals. Neither of these two apply. And then they send it to the bank, ideally through a bank integration, to a bank export. And that will give them control, because you can have approvals, right? So if the accounts payable doesn't need to work in Business Central, they can get an aged payables report and work in the bank. Payment reconciliation means that once you get the bank statement, the payment is already in the bank statement. All you need to do now is to catch up with Business Central, where the bank ledgers doesn't match with the statement, because the payment, it was not there. That's essentially the main reason why you want to use one or the other. The payments payments show show in the bank statements but are not in BC. As I said before, right? AP goes straight to the bank. Accounts payable goes straight to the bank. So it's your job now to catch up. You register the payment in BC, it's already in the bank, you reconcile it. The bank account reconciliation, on the other hand, shows the payment shows in the statement and must only be reconciled in BC because accounts payable used payment journals to pay. So if you think about it, it's what process step comes first? AP, accounts payable, bank, then Business Central, payment reconciliation. Business Central payments, then bank, use the bank account reconciliation, right? So AI doesn't tell you that. So essentially, it's process, as I said, and compliance. When separation of duties is not critical, when the same users can register the payments and reconcile the bank, register the payments in Business Central, in the core system, and you need to reconcile the bank at the same time, and it's the same person, separation of duties is not critical. The auditor doesn't care. You're a small company. Approvals are not supported. You don't need approvals, and therefore you can pretty much, do all your cash in one go. The finance manager of a company of 50 people, they do everything, right? Payment reconciliation. But you need to work in the bank first and then catch up with Business Central, maybe at the end of the week, right? Bank account reconciliation is a completely different beast. When separation of duties is essential, the auditor tells most of my clients that turn over more than 20 million a year, you shall not have the same team approving payments and processing payments and reconcile the bank. Not an option. More common than what you might think in medium-sized organizations. So one team processes the payments via payment journals, maybe with approvals, maybe with budgeting rules, maybe using cost centers for financial reporting using dimensions, and then another team reconciles the banks, usually somewhat higher, with higher authority, right? A line manager, finance manager does the account reconciliation, accounts payable and accounts receivable process payments, separation of duties and approval. That's it, really. So, hope everything is clear. Let me know if you have any question about the difference between the two. We will see that in a moment with a quick demo. Banking integration options. This is a snapshot from my US sandbox, which I will use in a moment. I like to use the US sandbox because I don't get tax, VAT that I had to set up that get in the way when I want to do a quick demo. It doesn't change really between the EU, Great Britain, US organizations. The core features are pretty much the same. Banking apps now are available in Business Central, and the installation is really one click. Why do you want to use extensions as opposed to doing it yourself? Obviously, cost benefits analysis. It's one bank, I do an integration, but then the integration you do with APIs, right, on CSVs, it's fiddly. It might break, right? It might break. In my experience as a consultant, a banking app for organizations that have more than one bank account, if you work with 2 or 3 different bank accounts, a banking integration just solves lots of problems. Also, because it can do pretty much, the import, the export. It's not just about money coming in, money going out. But I'll tell you once something else that I wanted to show you. EU open banking. That was not really. It's not something that you wanted to, that I plan to show you. But let me show you one moment here, presentation 2. There we go. I know for whatever reason it shows in Greek here. It must be my VPN. Payment services revised rules to improve customer protection and competition in electronic payments. This one, PSD2 protocol directive, adopted 11 years ago in the EU. And by the way, Great Britain, it's part of it. They adopted it, even though we're no longer in the EU. That made open banking protocols and most API and most CSV-based banking integrations non-compliant. So if you think you can build an API integration, maybe a CSV, common separated value, right, integration with Business Central, technically you can do that, of course, but keep in mind that you might create something which makes your clients non-compliant for electronic payments under EU rules. And these EU rules apply also to some non-EU countries, because they decided that it was strong enough. And so they said, okay, let's go for it. So this is the reason why companies like my friends at Yavrio Open Banking, which is a fantastic company, they have an office not far from where I live, by the way, here in central London, developed a PSD2 compliant bank integration that doesn't break the bank, allows me to joke, and essentially you don't risk breaking compliance, and you get all the benefits of banking integration. Because again, as I said earlier, it's not just about the features, it's not just about speed, it's not just about cost and benefits analysis. You can get your clients something very cheap and very fast, and then they end up getting in trouble, right, with the local authorities, local tax authorities. There we go. Question: can we have application rules with bank account reconciliation as we're the same with payment reconciliation journals? Partially, yes. The application rules can work pretty much the same, also because it works on the same database table. And so if you develop application rules to say when a bank statement arrives, it's got this text, apply it to this account. Of course, it works differently, because in a bank account reconciliation, the system must find a bank entry. But yes, absolutely, it's pretty much the same, right? Good question, by the way. So really, do it yourself versus extensions, compliance, right? Robustness, how robust, how stable your integration is. If you are a good solution architect, technical architect, developers, you can build something robust. But does it comply with the organization's requirements? Because again, you might end up getting your client in trouble. That's why I love using banking integrations, by the way. And so if you are in the UK, you want to give the team at Yavrio or another banking integration app a call, and you will see how easy it is to set it up, and you avoid lots of headaches. So, handling tolerance in foreign currencies. It's a global setting. It's a global setup on the general ledger setup. It doesn't really apply to the bank itself. Once you enable a payment tolerance and a payment application tolerance, the system will handle that. You can have different rules for different currencies. So you can have different rounding and application tolerance. If you think about it, it makes sense. If you trade with countries where their currency exchange rate is quite different compared to your local currency, you might have rounding issues all the time just because of the conversion. And so in some cases, you want to specify the conversion on currency. But really, Business Central supports different kind of tolerance. We have the application rounding precision, which rounds the amount between two currencies when you need to apply one to the other. The difference will be will go in a realized gains and losses, depending on whether the application round is in your favor or you end up essentially paying more for that. Business Central works in this rather peculiar way. We have a payment tolerance account and payment discount tolerance. That's because the system supports cash discounts that you can get when you pay your vendors ahead of time, long ahead of time. If your vendors put in place this kind of policies, payment agreements, when they might say, well, my invoice is 30 days, right? 30 days that you need to pay me. But if you pay within 1 week, I'll give you, 5% cash discount tolerance, right? That would be a payment discount tolerance, which can also come with a grace period, okay? But you also have the actual payment tolerance, which means you can get a payment from a customer with a slightly different amount, lower, and you can decide to take the hit. And say it's fine. This customer, instead of paying $10,000, pay me $9,999. I don't want that invoice to stay open for $1, right? I can set it up in this way. And so the system will eventually close an invoice for $10,000 with a payment for $9,999 and post the difference in either a payment tolerance account, right? Or another account that you specify in the customer posting group or vendor posting groups, depending on whether it's money that you receive or money that you pay, right? In terms of foreign currencies, we will see in a minute, in Business Central, there is a limitation. For consultants and for system administrators working with companies that need to manage multiple bank accounts in multiple currencies. A bank account in your local currency can manage transactions in any currency. A bank account in a foreign currency can only handle transactions in that specific foreign currency. Business Central has got this rule, and it's structural, it's architectural. Changing it through custom development is never recommended. It's a nightmare. F&O, Finance and Operations, allows you to have essentially to do that triangulation with 3 currencies. And it's rather amusing, but Business Central is much more simple. So, local currency, every currency. Foreign currency, only that one, right? That's the general rule. So, before we get into the demo, already half an hour, we got not time for a very good in-depth demo here. Approvals and separation of duties by special permissions. Bank account reconciliation, table 273. It's the bank account reconciliation where you only reconcile the bank. While bank account reconciliation line is the payment reconciliation journal. The bank account reconciliation uses both tables, 273 and 274. The payment reconciliation journal, it only works on 274. So, direct permissions to write, insert, modify, delete on table 273 and indirect permissions on 274 lets you work on bank account reconciliations, but not on payment reconciliation. While with this kind of setup here, I can work on both. And you can see it's a lot simpler than what it sounds. 2 separate tables, direct and indirect permissions, and separation of duties is sorted. Don't overcomplicate. There's no need to overcomplicate this. It's very easy once you know how everything goes into place, right? So, 30 minutes on the clock, enough with PowerPoint, which I personally don't like a lot. You might notice by the look and feel, the look on my slides, they're very simple. I don't like demo presentations like PowerPoints. I just don't like them. So I've got another screen now, and let me just show it because I need to do. There we go. So let's have a look. I just created this bank account, Barclays. I am working in a US localization. So if you are based in the UK or in any other country, the page might look slightly different. Don't worry about the fields or where they are, because each localization is slightly different. The core features are the same, okay? So what do we need to do to make sure that everything works? We want the bank account posting group, right? This is the link between the bank account ledger entries, which if you talk to a finance manager, credit controller, you can tell them this is your cash register, right? The bank account subsidiary ledgers or subledgers. A credit controller who used any software, any ERP will understand that, okay? It's a cash register, right? Money in, money out. Very simple. Bank account ledger entries have a flag which is open, yes or no. It's a yes or no, true or false field. If it's open, he has not been reconciled with a bank statement, right? When it's no longer open, it means that it's been reconciled against a bank statement. As a cash register entry, these will never go away, right? They will never disappear, but they can be closed. Okay, that's how the system keeps things in sync. Okay, and like any subsidiary ledger entries in Business Central, voucher entry in finance and operations, you know it, it's the same thing, right? I'm sure SAP and Oracle have their own. But once you understand these principles, you can work with any application. You have related entries. And there we go. Against this bank ledger entry, I can see the general ledger, which of course has debited, if it's a money in, it's debited cash. This is a money out. And so you can see there is a credit entry in my cash account, the debit ended up closing accounts payable. Okay, we have the vendor ledger entry because the payment was already to, again, a payment on account for a vendor, right? And of course, again, the bank account ledger entry, which is this one. Okay, so a cash register, bank account ledger entries, money in, money out, related to the general ledger via the bank account posting group. Okay, in very simple terms. What else we need? You can see here the currency. This is in British pounds, and so the balance now shows with this nice currency symbol. I think this is new. It used to be just a number, and so you have to figure out, is this local currency or is it foreign currency? Because this takes from the cash register, the bank account ledger entries, the amount shown is always in the specific currency of the bank. But of course, running balance in local currency, in this case, is US dollars. You can see we don't have the LCY, local currency. We actually have the symbol, which is a lot nicer, right? And you can see this is just my currency exchange rate. You can forget about the numbers, because it's a demo sandbox, right? And here it tells me that the bank account is not really linked to a banking integration, right? So, which is, again, I told you about earlier. You can see bank account service. You can link to online bank accounts. And you can see that by default, this is a US company. And this goes about, go back to what I said about compliance. This is a US environment. In the US environment, the out-of-the-box banking app is called Yondly bank fee service, which is owned by Microsoft, based on Open Banking Protocol, which complies with US regulations but does not comply with EU regulations. And so what you need to do here, what you find is banking apps. Oops. Here you see the two banking apps that comply, right, with the rest. And so it's the in addition to what Yondly can give to you. If you are in Great Britain or in the EU, you need to choose one or the other. I personally know the guys at Yavrio. I can tell you it's a fantastic company. I never worked with Software Baltic. I'm sure they are a reputable company. Otherwise, they wouldn't show here. But again, I encourage you to give them a call and find out and schedule a demo, because these banking apps are fantastic. So, in the absence of a banking integration, how do we get a simple file, which might break compliance, remember, but let me show you how it works, into the bank? We need to get the bank statement import format right in the system, right? And here you can see by default, again, this is the US, right? I have the Yondly bank fee services, not available in other localizations, and I have a couple of SEPA. But I also created this import Barclays, which I can create through the user interface. You can see there's no special processing code unit, right? Here, the simplest way to get a bank statement into the system is to use the wizard that will guide me through a very simple process to set it up. It only works with very simple CSV files that you need to store locally. But again, just to show, I want to show it to you because here you will see how Business Central matches the bank statement with the bank account ledger entry. So I'm going to upload a bank statement, very simple CSV that I just created before, right? And I call it demo. Okay, upload it, and then I click next, and now you can see that Business Central is reading a CSV. Very simple. It finds the correct header to skip. The header contains date, amount, text 1, text 2. Very simple. Separated by comma. It's a comma separator, so you can see it does a separation here. It found 4 columns: date, amount, name of and document, and the line, and the line separator. Next, with this structure, the system understands that the date column is date, the amount is the amount, but it cannot guess the description. And this is the limitation. With the bank statement setup available in Business Central, you only get one field for the description. And it's often not good enough because customers send you payments. When you process the payments or accounts payable process the payments, they might put an internal reference, they might put a vendor reference, and that is used by the system to match the payment. So if I choose column 3, you will see I will get the name of the customers and vendors and $3 for Barclays fees. If I choose 4, I will get the name of the document, but I can't have both. I can't. While if I use the banking app, I'll get description 1, description 2 fields, much more fields that then Copilot or if you are on the newest version, or the matching engine in Business Central, which is pretty good. Copilot for banking reconciliation is nice, but it's not that revolutionary AI automatic matching, right? Like 90% of the time, standard BC matching engine will work. Copilot will just get you that extra bit. But don't think that Copilot for banking reconciliation will just solve everything, because it doesn't, right? So either one column or the other. So I choose the document number, hopefully. He will get it right. The date format, month, date, and year. Month, date, and year doesn't really work because I have 1812. And so, obviously, that is not an 18th, right? So what I'm going to do, I'm going to say DDWM, right? And so now this is the 18th of 12, 2025, okay? Again, you can see you need to tell the system that when how you want to structure it. And so test the bank statement file. This is what is going to end up in Business Central. 3 simple columns. As I said, often not enough. But for a team of 20 on Business Central on finance only, that's okay. 50 to 200 people with inventory, AP and AR might not be strong enough. You need something more robust. Okay, so I'm going to close it. Next, I'm going to choose a name for my bank statement. I call it demo, and I want to choose a default bank account. And that's it. And so now let's look at what happens here. There we go. Now Business Central has applied the same processing code unit. So it will do pretty much the same that it does if I use a different format. What is the difference? Is that when I use any of these, the source of the data will contain a lot more information that the system can use to match it, for what it does to match it. With this one, it's only 3 columns. But again, this is what I got now, right? So we're going to use this. So back to bank accounts. And now let's see the difference between a bank account reconciliation and a bank account reconciliation journal. I'll do this one first. So I'm going to create a new bank account reconciliation. I need to choose Barclays. By the way, if I had banking integration, I don't need to do that, right? The system will just fetch the statement and prepare it for me. And I might be able to run it right immediately or try to run the auto match. So when I open Business Central, I can see only what's not matched. And so I need to do something about it. Okay. So this is the bank. This is Barclays. So you can see I've already got a bank account ledger entry here. This is the bank account reconciliation, right? Someone in accounts payable has already paid First Up Consultants, and they paid him £2,500, right? And they did the application, right? Doesn't matter at this stage because I'm reconciling the bank. All I need to do now is to ensure that the payment that I have in my system, right, is matched against an invoice. So let me quickly fix the dates here because I noticed a date issue. There we go. I'm going to sort it here. There we go. So what I'm going to do now, I'm going to import the bank statement, and the system asks me to feed again the same file. The bank statement visited the details this time. Yes, absolutely. There we go. Excellent. Bank statement date is the 1st of June, and last statement was 0 because it's just a number, it's just a new bank account. And now I've got, you can see the 3 entries, but this is Central doesn't really have anything to match against it. Although this document is the £2,500, right? That goes against First Up Consultant. If I run the match automatically, I need to tell the system that the two dates, the payment and the statement might have different dates. And look, it actually got it right. It got it right because if I check into this payments invoice, I use the same invoice really number, right? And so I did that on purpose before. So by using the document number as a description, it found a correct match. This is a bank fee for £3, right? For £3 that I can actually transfer to the general journal. And now I can see, well, this is a payment journal that I use for my payment reconciliation. And then he prepares the journal. And now all I need to do, I need to check against the two bank fees, right? Banking fees. This is an expense account, okay? December 25 fees, no, 25 is 27. Again, this is a sandbox. The dates are completely, made up. So what I'm going to do now, I can post the lines. The journal is posted. I process the bank fee, right? And with the right dates now, the next run will match it, right? Against this one. And so you can see here the application 2,500 goes against, first up consultant, right, as the document shows here. So you can still do something, pretty useful on the bank account reconciliation journal, but I would not use this to match against an invoice because I got no idea where this one is coming from, right? So I'm not going to post it, I'm going to delete it. And let me show you what happens if I do the opposite. If I do a payment reconciliation journal. And now I do a payment reconciliation journal. And what I do the same, import bank transaction, the same file, right? Because the code unit that runs on bank import is the same. And look, I got the same, right? The same 3. And now I just need to let the system apply automatically and see if we can find out what to do. There we go. It found the correct payment right before that I posted before. But it tells me a lot more. You can see how we matched it. It matched with one amount, right? And here you can see it just found nothing, even though I got an invoice for this customer. But it didn't get it because, again, the rules are a bit more, more complicated to set up. But also because in my bank statement, I only had this. So now what I'm going to do now, I can see if I can do manual application, apply manually, and I need to drill down into, you can see there is a payment application here for my bank, right? And you can see that's all I got here. I might have to choose and find out if there is a payment. I don't have the bank here, the bank transaction. So there is a limit, right? And you can see here, I can say, well, you know what? This is the banking fee applied to Barclays, right? And there's nothing to apply, but you can see it just applied the payment to the Barclays, right? To the Barclays account. And so once I do that, it would just get me, show me the correct, the correct application because I forced it through. So it's really, let's go back to one step back. Sorry, I want to show you Barclays. Actually, let me show you something. On this one, really, you said the bank statement description related third party, additional transaction day. Perfect. Thank you for that. Who is Mohammed, thank you for that. So this what happens when you can see it looks at the statement, remaining amount, then it looks at the description, then it looks at the external document number. Thank you for sharing that. Related third party, additional transaction info. You can see that Business Central will use 2, 4, 6, 8, 9, more than 10 fields to do the application. But when I create a payment format input manually, I only got the date, the amount, and one text field. So you are essentially limiting the capabilities of the system, right? To be able to match it. You can see how the system just cannot find that match, and it's a pain. Imagine having to reconcile tens, right? Hundreds of, maybe not hundreds, what is it? 50, 60 transactions every week. And then you have a manual input that doesn't find what you need. It's a total nightmare, right? So let's go back to this match and let's look at this document number for this payment. Because this is what I want to show you. Well, the system managed to find it. It managed to find it because what I did a payment journal, right? And with the payment journals that I can use a general payment journals, right? I can also have approval status here with something that I didn't have before. So when compliance, efficiency, and separation of duties and control is key, getting a payment out of the system, send it to the bank, it lets you add all the information you need, right, to get into the system what the system needs to reconcile later, right? So we are paying 5,000 out of our, not a general ledger account, out of our checking account, right? And now what I can do, I can find applied entries and look, this is the vendor, cash, and we are paying 2,000 and we're paying here. There we go. And so now 2 invoices are paid and the rest is on account, right? I can send a request for approval to my manager, right? And once I'm done, I can post. The journals are posted. I go back to either my payment reconciliation journals or my bank account reconciliation journals, right? And I will get essentially the lines and the system will match the two. Okay, so let's see if you got any questions, because I've been talking for quite a lot of time here, quite a long, and let me see. Where can I find bank account reconciliation application rules? Is there any blog or rules to set up a page in Business Central? Right, bank account reconciliation rules. Let me see if I can find it for you. There are rules, not here, bank account reconciliation, yeah. Let me see, when you want to do the manual application, map test to accounts, and here essentially it's one rule you can set up automatically. Let me see, there is a priority something that I can find it for you. Document number, match confidence low. There we go. Payment application rules. That's what you were asking, right? You can configure this one pretty much, manually, even though most of the times, really, what you already got in Business Central is already good enough. It will start with, a priority, match confidence high, related parties not considered, But if it's a direct debit collection, right, you just match it, right? For example, right? So there's a payment reconciliation rules only work for payment reconciliation journals. Payment application rules apply to payment application setup, right? Customer ledger entry, vendor ledger entry, employee, you can skip employee, right? Ledger entry matching, enable bank ledger matching. So this is something to remember. The payment application rules work on the same database table, the code unit that applies to bank account reconciliation lines. It matches vendors and customers for money out and money in, but it can also match existing bank account ledger entries. So it works on banks account reconciliations as well. It's not a different set of rules, they're the same rules. Okay? You can disable for manually page. You can see enable immediately. You can search third party for string nearness, exact, and you can play with it. Payment applications setting. Play with it a bit because you can get a lot right. So questions, Rachel, we struggle with matching as the payment journal is booked line by line, but the bank statement shows one consolidated balance, which can include multiple payments events. So is there a way to resolve this? Yes, Rachel. There is a way to do that. Banking integration and matching with Copilot will get it. You need to be on the newest version of Business Central. I've seen it work and it works very well. It might not get it on 100%, but we are very close to 80-20. 80% will be matched, because the system is clever enough to find the payment applications, the related entry on the bank ledger entry, not just the payment. Rachel, if you're working with a banking integration partner, ask them if you want to work with me. Of course, you know where to find me. I'm happy to help you. Fabio, recently I experienced a payment. No problem at all. It's been a problem, Fabio. Problem importing bank accounts in the SEPA account. Vendor customer payment is currency in the XML file downloaded from the home banking contains currency, local currency. Yes. So the customer and payments in currencies, you should come with one file per currency, unfortunately. So. And that's how SEPA should work, really. SEPA backs one bank account statement it should have only lines that belong to the same currencies. Payments in different currencies will be converted, and on the bank account statement, you will see something like euro to GBP, 1 point whatever. But the bank account statements, if it's SEPA, should not contain foreign currencies. If you have that, you need to work with your bank, one file per currency. That's very common, okay? So where can you find this blog? I think that is probably on Microsoft Learn. If you find on Microsoft Learn, you search for payment application rules in Business Central, you might find it. Okay, so 1 minute on the clock. 37 people online, more than 12 on LinkedIn. This is probably the busiest and the most successful webinar I ever run. Thank you for that. Before we close, allow me to pitch Microsoft Corporate Training Services for business applications. We do role-based training for consultants, Microsoft partners, and organizations that use payment applications, Business Central, finance and operations. Everything is included. Field service, customer service, supply chain management. I take care of Business Central. My collaborators work with finance, Power Apps, and even security. We helped Microsoft recently. So to onboard new hires, to plan employee development, ensure compliance, keep up with frequent updates, we work with partners, manufacturing, retails, professional services, right? We got different packages, and I'm going to share the link if you want to share it with the rest of the team, right? If you want to give me a call and start working together, I will be happy to do that. So it's been wonderful to have you here. 1 hour, 13 minutes, more than 50 people online. What can I say? Thank you so much. It's great to see so many of you be online. Don't forget to share it with the rest of your team, maybe your colleagues. Every month or so, I do another webinar. And so always happy to see you online. Okay? Thank you all. Have a great rest of the day. Of course, you can have the recording. I will share the recording by email in a moment. You're very welcome, Deborah. No problem at all. Thank you, everybody. Talk soon.